Let's try that again. So if you are joining us on replay or live, as I know so many people are following the replay, taking time when it works in your schedule to work on your 2025 business plan, you are here at our last of the 4 sessions. We've been working throughout the month of October to really embrace the concept that 2025 starts now. You're not waiting until January 1 or even December 1, right? To position yourself to have a great 2025. We are wrapping up this week after starting with a full evaluation of what we've experienced this year, how we're going to wrap up 2024. We really have been changing the conversation towards what do we want to see for our businesses in 2025 and starting to think through what that looks like. If you remember from last week, I went over a platform that I love, a 1-3-5 method for business planning. And so last week, coming out of the 30 minutes, hopefully you went back to the workbook and you're thinking about your big goals, and you'll have at least 2 of those, maybe even 3 or 4. I don't want you to do more than 4. That gets a little bit ambitious. We want to make sure that everything that you're planning is attainable and achievable and that you stay motivated in that. And you also should have started to think about the focus areas of how you might break down that big goal into more digestible chunks. Now, this week, in the final week, what I want you to concentrate on is how do I build out specific strategies that lead to action items, actual calendar items that are going to help me make progress on that goal. Okay. Something really important. And if you were there at our in-person event yesterday for Leaders Edge, then I think you heard this message loud and clear, and it's worth reiterating that your bread and butter is going to be in doing the work. It doesn't matter how beautiful and polished your business plan is at the end of this process. It doesn't matter how great your CRM is. It doesn't matter even how many lead opportunities fall in your lap. If you're not willing to do the work and translate your intentions into the action items and the consistency that you need in your business, you won't get the results that you're looking for. Okay. So what we want to talk about today is translating those big goals into something very manageable, into consistent activities that you can build out in your calendar to make a difference, to achieve whatever goals you do set forward for 2025. So I want to talk you through an example because I think the visual is really important to help you understand what this last step is going to be about. Let's take as an example that you have a big goal to close 15 units sourced from your sphere of influence. That could be consistent with what I did in 2024. That could be maybe a marginal increase. That might even be a stretch. Maybe maybe I'm fairly new to the business and I might have only closed 1 or 2 units, but I see tremendous opportunity in my sphere and I really want to pour into that. Whatever is motivating you, understand that big goal, what's important there is that it's measurable, right? That I have a number that I can match my actual experience against what I hope to achieve for the year. So let's say focus areas. How would I break that down? That's a big goal. It's kind of broad. So we want to start to get it into digestible pieces. Let's say that one of the ways I want to do that is to develop consistent, great word, right? Personal communication with my sphere. Maybe I want to do that by leveraging social media to stay top of mind. And maybe I know that I could really benefit by developing a funnel for referrals to come in for my sphere. So I want to give intention to that. Okay. So these are the things that you probably should have come up with last week doing your 1 and your 3. So now let's take a look at what happens with the strategies piece. How do I get to the 5? And I need to fill in 5 strategies that specifically relate to each of these 3 focus areas. That means you're going to end up with 15 strategies tying back to this one big goal. So I've given you a couple of examples. So going to the first one, our first focus area of developing consistent personal communication with my sphere. How would you do that? What are the 5 activities that are specific to you that you can stick to, right? Don't go climb Mount Everest on here when you have no intention of putting on a pair of hiking boots. put action items that you know you can hold yourself accountable to. So in this case, maybe the first thing I want to give action to is to organize my database. I know I need to start there. So that's my first strategy. My second strategy, maybe I want to do some sort of organized, methodical, monthly personal check in where I'm going to leverage text, email, and phone call. My third thing, maybe I'm going to commit to a quarterly newsletter. Okay. And maybe that newsletter is going to highlight a vendor and also give some updates on the market. I want to do things around birthdays and anniversaries. So again, this is a more detailed strategy, taking that really broad goal and breaking it down into very specific components. And then finally, I would love to host a client appreciation event in 2025. So let me put that on my radar. Okay, so that's just one example of how you might take that focus area and expand it into 5 strategies. The other thing that you're going to do as part of this sort of part 4, you're going to turn from your workbook and you're going to turn towards your calendar. And that's whatever calendar you choose to use. If you're a Gmail user and you like Google Calendar, leverage Google Calendar. If you are a paper planner, and while I love technology and I really enjoy having as much of my sort of business and world at my fingertips on my phone and my laptop as possible, that's great. I know for me, when it comes to planning, I love a paper calendar. It's tangible. It's something that I can quickly and easily update by hand, and I can cross things off and move things around with ease. So for me, that's terrific. But whatever platform you use, if you're in Microsoft and you leverage an Outlook calendar, whatever, but you need to turn to your calendar. So what we want to do is now take those 5 strategies and actually put items on the calendar to get working on those strategies. Okay. So here's our strategies, the 5 that we came up with. So what might that look like? What are you going to do on your calendar? So when we talk about organizing, consolidating my database, what might I do? Well, obviously, I'm not going to go to my calendar for 2025 and put time in next October towards this strategy, right? This is something that I actually want to get working on now, that I recognize that if I can do things in the fourth quarter of 24 to get that database right and to do a little cleanup, then I'm going to even be better positioned in 25 to make progress on the other things like the personal check-ins and the quarterly newsletter. So the things that are going to go on my calendar are going to be, here we go, in Q4, I'm going to put a note in my calendar that I'm going to put 90 minutes a week, each week in November and December, to reviewing my database, to doing some cleanup. Maybe I do that alphabetically. Maybe I do that by different type of client. So maybe I might go with family, then I might deal with my friends, then I might go with my church contacts, then I might go with my agent contacts, whatever the case may be. However I choose to tackle, but I'm going to commit 90 minutes a week. One thing that I really loved about our in-person event yesterday was what Dylan Nanaka talked about, time blocking versus time dedication. So don't be so rigid with time blocking that if a week comes by or even a day comes by and you miss that time block, that you completely give up on that initiative and on that commitment. I like the idea of saying from week to week, as long as somewhere in my week, I'm giving 90 minutes to this action item, I'm good. This week, it might be Monday morning. Next week, it might be Thursday evening. That's all good as long as I'm committing in some way to the 90 minutes. The other thing going into 2025, once I do that cleanup, that's going to sort of be my thought process for Q4 in 2025. I want to make sure that I'm keeping up on that. It's kind of like when you clean the house. You do that big, thorough cleaning, and then you recognize that by just keeping up on it every couple of weeks, the task is much more manageable, right? The keep is much easier. So that's what I want to make sure I'm building in 2025 under this particular strategy, is that maybe I'm going to say, let me allocate 1 hour every other week to just make sure that I'm adding new people into my database, that there's intention there. So the networking event that I went to, the community festival that I participated in, maybe I went to lunch a couple of times, maybe I hosted an open house. Let me make sure that if I don't have technological funnels, right? If I don't have automated mechanisms for getting those people into my database, let me make sure I'm manually getting those people into my database. And then I can start continuing to build client communications and rapport with them as I do with everyone else over the course of the year. Okay. So this is the idea of really, we've gone from sort of this, where am I? Where do I want to go? And now let me actually put things on the calendar that are going to get me there. Let me give you one more example. So let's say under this same idea, we're working on our strategies and we want to incorporate monthly personal check-ins, text, email, and phone call. Okay. So maybe the way that I do that is once I've gone through this Q4 exercise of cleaning up my database, I'm going to wrap up the year with an email of gratitude. And that could be whatever you think it is. If you want to send an email around the holidays, if you want to send a Happy New Year email, if you want to send something to just sort of reflect or kick off a plan for 2025 that lets people know, what your services are, what they can come to you with, and how you can be of support to them, whatever you want that message to be. But let's just say I'm going to schedule for the last week of December to make sure that I'm reaching out to everyone in my database with that email message of gratitude. That's also a great opportunity. You should, under the current FTC guidelines, be checking in, I believe it's once a year, with everyone that you are communicating with on some type of automated level to make sure that they give you permission to continue communicating with them. So that message is a great time to sort of get it out of the way so that you're good for 2025. And then maybe in addition to that calendar item, the other thing that I'm going to do to commit to the monthly concept, right, of being intentional and hitting every person in my database, I'm going to come up with a plan every week of who I'm going to call, who I'm going to text. And maybe I organize that alphabetically. And you can do that in a way that's however that's meaningful to you. So let's say you have 52 weeks in the year and you wanted to make sure that you called and texted each person in your database a total of 8 times over the year. So you do the math. If you have 52 weeks and you want to make sure that you get 8 touches, that essentially means that you need to be hitting 4 letters of the alphabet like every week to reach that goal, 8 touches. Okay. And so maybe when I work through my first cycle, I'm calling the A's and the B's and I'm texting the C's and the D's in week 1. But maybe when I get to the next cycle, I reverse that. So again, we're talking about very specific action items that can help you take these initiatives, put them on your calendar and make a difference. Okay. One last thing that I just want to show you, because not everything that you create in your business plan is going to be something that you're going to do right now or beginning in January. So for example, one of the strategies we talked about as a plan, a goal for 2025 was to have client appreciation event. Well, let's say I've never done a client appreciation event before. I recognize with all of the other things that I'm building in, but that's not something that I see happening before the second half of 25. So let me, at least on my calendar, high level, put some sort of digital Post-its, if you will, or physical Post-its if you're like me with that paper book, and make sure that in July, I'm starting to think about that event, right? I'm starting to see how my business is shaping up for the year, starting to think about what I can afford, right? What my budget would allow for, how many people I might want to include, and what I might want that event to look like. And then through August and September, I'm planning it out. And maybe I want this to be sort of around the holidays. Maybe, again, going back to the idea of gratitude, maybe I want it to be a Thanksgiving event. Okay, so the things that you should be doing in this final week are really driving down to the details, to the very specific action item details. Don't get so consumed and overwhelmed with time blocking that you blow things off when you miss them. Be a little bit fluid from week to week, but at the same time, consistency is key. If you aren't consistently doing these activities, when it comes time to go back a couple times a year at least, whether you do it semi-annually or quarterly, when you go back and review your progress towards your big goals, you're going to be disappointed, right? If you're not close, achieving and closing deals to get closer and closer to that 15, you're going to be disappointed. The idea here is that the effort, the consistency lead to results, which leads to improved motivation, which leads to improved consistency and more results. Okay. It works in building momentum if you come off of the theme from yesterday. So that's where you want to concentrate. And I want to remind you, because we talked about it last week, and then we talked about it in our Leaders Edge Tuesday Mastermind. There's a great hack in all of this, and that's ChatGPT or whatever AI platform you like to use. If you feel stuck, and maybe you know what your big goal is, and maybe you even have those sort of focus areas, those 3 focus areas, but then you get to these strategies and you're stuck. You feel like you're hitting a brick wall. AI can be a huge brainstorming source for you so that you're not staring at a blank page. Let ChatGPT or whatever platform give you some ideas, give you some direction, and then you can take that and refine that in ways that make sense. But leverage that hack. It's right there at your fingertips. There's no reason why you shouldn't. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just trying to help you give intention and focus to what you want to achieve next year. Okay? So that's the goal for the final week 4. That's where your focus should be. I would say of all the weeks, this is the one that's going to take the most time. This is the one that you're probably not even going to complete in 1 week's time. You might even need 2 weeks and maybe 4 to 5 hours, as opposed to the 1 to 2 hours we've talked about needing in each of the prior weeks. Okay? The one thing that I want to offer you as you go through this process and to help you stay committed to the process, because I do believe it's so important, if you would like to schedule a one-on-one to Zoom and go over your business plan, whether it's pretty much close to finished and you just want to review it and maybe build in some accountability around it, or if you're feeling stuck and just want to have a creative conversation about the direction that you might go in, and just maybe want an objective set of eyes and ears on that, I'm available to help you one-on-one. All you have to do is scan this code, schedule that appointment with me through Calendly, and we can Zoom sometime in November or early December and help you get going. Because the goal, again, keep in mind that 2025 starts now. The one last thing that I'll leave you with, and if you were at our event yesterday, you know what I'm talking about, but we were fortunate enough to hear from Elias Astudo from California, one of the, or actually, is it the largest team, productive team at eXp Realty, and he's based in California. But he shared a really interesting concept about a sort of hole-in-the-wall hotel outside of Disneyland in California called the Magic Castle Hotel. And nothing glamorous, nothing fancy. If you just took it on photos, it wouldn't fare well against your Marriotts and Hiltons, and certainly not against the premier, like Ritz-Carltons of the world. But the thing that hotel does incredibly well is customer experience. And one of the ways that shows is with a special popsicle hotline, where a client, typically a short one, a kid, can go and pick up a hotline, make a call, and request a popsicle poolside. And that popsicle gets delivered with white glove service on a tray to that child or family sitting by the pool. The idea is that might be inconvenient for the hotel. It might be challenging to have one resource available to be at the beck and call of delivering popsicles all day, every day. But it's the client experience, that sort of return on investment by having that one resource available, and the incredible experience, the memorability, the impact that gesture has on the consumer. So, the one last thing that I want to leave you with as you think about your plan, as you try to set those goals, we want them to be attainable. But I want you to think about what is your popsicle experience in 2025? What is that special thing? Maybe it's something that you do well now that you should be doubling down on, or maybe you've been struggling through all this change to identify where you're going to land, what your popsicle experience is. So, where are you going to deliver that sort of extra to your clients, to the consumers, and to the people you're looking to attract to help next year? Okay. So I look forward to hopefully connecting with you one on one and going through your business plan and giving you the opportunity to really talk privately and personally about what your intentions are for 2025. Most importantly, even if you don't take me up on that, do the work, put the time in. This is an investment in your business. You're a CEO. You should think and behave like one, and then hold yourself accountable to it, whether that's with an accountability partner, whether you're building something into your calendar to review that periodically. Maybe it's with a team leader or your broker owner. Make sure that you are building the accountability into 2025. Don't polish it off and stick it in a drawer because, as we said at the top, that's not where your bread and butter lies. Okay. So good luck, everybody, in your business planning. Get to it. I will, one last thing I'll just post just in case you need it. If this is the last time that you are catching us and you're trying to get caught up, just make sure that you scan this QR code and you can fill out a couple of quick questions to get our workbook and a couple of the other business planning tools that we've been leveraging these last 4 weeks. Okay. So good luck, everybody. I'm pleased for you that you see this as important in your business to go ahead and plan for next year. Aim high, but make sure it's achievable. And I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Sienna. You too.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.